town is situated on land that was taken up under a land warrant by John Nickey about 1740. The original plan of Liverpool contained 100 lots. The lots were sold by lottery, with tickets being sold at $100 each. Founding a town by this method was a common custom. The town was incorporated August 27, 1869. The charter changed the name to Manchester, by which the post office had been called for many years. Today, we celebrate the borough's 125th anniversary. Of some historical interest is the visit by Lafayette in 1825 to the Reeser home on his way to Harrisburg. Then, on June 28, 1863, General Early dispatched Colonel French to burn the bridges over the Conewago River just prior to the Battle of Gettysburg. The troops passed through town, stopping at stores to take shoes and clothing, paying in Confederate notes. In 1821, the first church was built, Union Church, located adjacent to Union Cemetery near the square. Two other churches, the United Brethren and St. Paul Evangelical Church, were dedicated years later, but combined in 1962 to form St. Paul United Methodist Church, located just outside the borough. In 1857, Christ Lutheran Church was built and is still located at its original site on South Main Street. Businesses began to dot the town, but sadly one, Foam Products, caught on fire in 1963. The building, Fraternity Hall, was gutted. It originally housed an elementary and high school, among other uses. Catherine Beecher was one of those, but still survives today on South Main Street, having passed her 50th anniversary. Cold Springs Park developed in 1904 as a delightful recreational retreat with mineral springs, picnic areas, and a dance pavilion. Trolleys from York brought people to the park. Located on that site today is Cold Springs Apartments. It is sadly missed. To relive some of the fond memories, follow these folks back in time as they reminisce about the good old days. May I introduce Claire Good, Pansy Murphy, Millie Bowen, Kurt Bupp, Stuart Hale, and Tom Farsh.
But I remember a lot of those. But I have an aunt here who will be 94 in January, and I think she remembers a lot more than I do. Pansy Murphy. You want to tell them what you remember about the early days of Manchester?
Well, I didn't live so long in Exeter. We moved off the farm, and then I was 17 years old. Then I went to work in the sewing factory. And I worked there 2 weeks, and I came home. I said, that's it. I said, I ain't sitting down there from in the morning till dinner, and from dinner till in the evening. I can't do it. I was used to being on my feet. So they said, I said, I'm going down to Hen with my brother. Live down there on Railroad Street. And I said, I'm going down to Hen and getting a job in the bar club. And my mom said, I won't wash your clothes. I said, I'll wash them myself. So I down to Hen, and the next time Hen came up and said, you got a job. Then I worked for 20 years at the Wire Club. Then they shut down. I was one of the last ones when they shut down. And so then I went to work for, then I took a course in nursing. Then I worked for Dr. Huffman for 12 years. Yeah, I was his nurse, but it was over 12. Yeah.
Where did you live when you lived in Manchester?
Huh?
Where did you live when you...
High Street.
Up at High Street?
Yeah.
Up there with your mother?
Across, you know where...
Next to Matthias.
Yeah, right beside...
Where Very Good Head Shale?
Yeah.
But that little house over there.
That was right across
where
from
my
Robin.
mom, there's where we lived in.
That was across the street from
And then
Robin's born.
She died there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my mother died there, but I never liked Manchester.
We don't want to hear that. I like that one.
The people of Manchester was too selfish. I never cared for Manchester. I like Mount Wolf. I lived in Mount Wolf. Yeah. Down on 3rd Street, Mount Wolf, I lived there. Yeah. 20
You sound like it is.
Yeah.
We're going to cut some of this
Yeah.
tape.
I moved to York, and then I was dumb enough and came back and built a house in Manchester.
I I think one of the things that Nancy remembers about
I lived there in
Manchester,
Manchester.
we are Pennsylvania Dutch, and if you know Pennsylvania Dutch, we're hard
I
to
built a house
change.
there in Manchester.
So that when we make up our mind for something, nobody else can change it. I can remember, and in this book are some pictures of old Main Street with the big trees, which are gone now. But it's a far cry from that to a signal light in Manchester, which maybe makes it part of our up-to-date, although at the time we wonder, is progress always for the best? Or were we better as a small community and not involved in so many political things? As Claire said a while ago, and maybe he will take that again, when we put the new Rutter's store, he's going around the corner in his car. So maybe he can tell us something about some of the old cars that was certainly part of Manchester's history.
Well, being born in 1920, the first car I can remember is our first new car our family bought, which was a 1925 Chevrolet they bought from Short Emery back in Zions View. And my dad pampered that car, and I wish I had it to this day. I never had it. It looked like a hearse. But from then on, I mean, the cars kept progressing in style and increasing in price and to what we have today. But I like to go back to what Millie said about High Street, where I was born. When I was a kid, both sides of the streets had the maple trees planted, and when you drove through there, when there were leaves on, it was like driving on tunnel. And in the summertime, when you'd sit on the front porch, the sparrows would come in there. They made an awful racket. And the kids used to go with slingshots and BB guns and flashlights at nighttime trying to kill them. Well, I remember that about High Street. Kurt?
Well, I lived on High Street. I liked it.
That was a nice street. So, in the Sundays, if you went from up High Street, walked up High Street, everyone was sitting out in the front porch on the swings and on the chairs. And if you stopped to talk, it took you an awful long time to get to the end of the street.
That's right.
People would talk back and forth across the street to each other.
You could walk on the main street and everybody was sitting on the porch. You could talk to everybody in the house.
Yeah. Friendly. Matter of fact, when I was a kid, High Street was dirt. I remember when they blacktop time, they bought the stone up from the Baker's Quarry in Saginaw, and they bought them up in those old solid rubber tire trucks. What were they? What make were they? But the chain driven, and then they had a horse-drawn wagon where they spread the mouse. I remember doing that on High Street.
I think what Claire said is one of the things that has made Manchester, and maybe we need to throw out a couple TVs and turn off the air conditioner and sit out in our porches, because we don't know our neighbors anymore. But at that time, as Claire said, that was our recreation, and you got to know everybody that lived in the community. And as he said, it took a long time to walk down the street, but at least you were out with people. And now we seem so closed up, and maybe that's one of the reasons Aunt Pansy didn't like Manchester. We got away from porches and not really learning to know our neighbors and helping them.
I knew everybody in Manchester when I was a kid.
Well, when he moved to Manchester, my daddy was just 51 years old. He only lived 4 days after we lived there. Then he died. Yeah.
Stuart, maybe you want to say something about the school, since I can remember you when I first started school. So,
Well, I moved to Manchester. I don't even just what year. I went to the elementary school there. I don't know who my first teacher was.
John Fink.
I don't know who the teacher was in 5th and 6th grade. But I do know in the last ones. I know I got my head hit and my fingers tipped too. Mrs. Scott W. No. Yes, I just don't remember the years. I was in trouble, like all the rest. Spitballs. John Fink, you had him for a teacher.
Miss Laura Hartman was my first teacher.
That was mine too.
He was the primary teacher of whatever you call the first grade. Do you remember who the one was in like 4th and 5th or whatever?
I had Billy Haight.
Just don't like, hey, really, I don't know, it would be true.
Yeah, I had Lily Hayes.
Did you go to school with Boss? Boss Murphy. Ed Murphy. He called him Boss.
I know him very good.
Yeah.
I probably did, but I don't remember him.
Yeah, he went to school.
And I had
Real good.
That's me right
You
there.
were getting me in trouble.
Yeah, I remember that.
Earl
Kids on the
Good.
street, they were taking the pictures, and I didn't think they'd take it, but that's me right there. That's my car.
I also had Mary Ziegler, and Frank Ziegler was the undertaker in Manchester, and I had Mary Ziegler, and then went on to Mrs. Scott Nall, and then had, and remember his name now,
Frank Ziegler, oh man, good Tom and that guy.
Mr. Hughes. was,
Donald Hughes.
Donald Hughes.
Donald G. Hughes.
And then went to high school from there. Claire, maybe you want to tell us something about, were you a troublemaker in school?
Oh, I guess I was no different than anybody else, but I remember in 7th and 8th grade, I was already playing my horn in the high school orchestra, and I used to, Thursday afternoons, I'd carry my horn to school, and I'd walk with her back to the high school with Mrs. Croft for orchestra practice. And I thought it was a pretty hot guy, because I was here, a grade school fellow playing in the high school orchestra, so that was important to me.
Maybe you want to tell them something about the Silver Cornet Band.
Yeah, I have pictures of the Silver Cornet Band, which was organized back in 1880. This is an old band. The picture's taken on the North Main Street, right in front of Winfield Blick's old property. I think Kling's on it now. And if you could see the pictures of the old instruments, the instruments that aren't even in use anymore today. And then I also have a uniform of another Manchester band I got from Emery Lane that's played a cornet in that band. I have when he died and they had sale, they gave me his cap and the coat. They would have the trousers. I tried to put on the cap fits, but the coat doesn't.
Did you know Pappy Smith?
Yeah.
He lived on High Street.
Yeah, the corner.
He taught school down in Borough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to get us a conversation over on the Cold Spring Park.
Yeah,
Oh,
Pappy
I'm
Smith.
finished here.
Oh, you're not through, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
go ahead.
Claire knows what's coming now. He used to have a habit. Well, lately sometimes when he got the clarinet. I mean, you can call it a licorice stick or something like that. He still played that licorice stick. That was the Manchester band too. At one time, that's the title. Billy Gross, Kerwin Hartman, they were directors. You remember that?
Yeah, that was called the Manchester Boys Band.
Is that what it was
Yeah,
called?
the doctor, I forget his name, is buried up in the cemetery. He bought uniforms and all the instruments and paid for instruction.
Was it Nyman?
No, if you say it, I would know, but it was
Dr.
not.
Campbell,
Was it Campbell? No, that doesn't sound right.
Dr. Kress.
No.
Oh, may I?
He
One
was-
of the things,
He was
wow.
buried right behind us, the church where, and he had, when I was a kid, he had a big ornamental iron fence around his grave. Now, he took it down since then.
You talk about progress when Northeastern started their band at the new high school. They used the drum that was used in the Manchester Boys Band.
Right. Now, if I may use one winning word here, you all know Sue Good, probably.
Yeah.
We were practicing in front of the, what was called the fire hall. That was firehouse, that little building here in the cement. She passed there one time. She said, boys, play what in the hell the band played. Well, we didn't know what to do. I mean, it was Billy Gross. You know, Billy Gross had a half a stone stuff, boys. I can't talk, Gus, but that's what, you remember him very well.
Yeah.
He was a car and a half, as a director.
Well, I recall the band used to rehearse in top of the old building, which that was the Susquehanna Bakery, and then out of the one that's the karate outfits in there now. I used to rehearse in the basement of the hall, and I recall rehearsing down in Pibby Hartman's woodworking shop behind his house.
That's right.
And my mother used to give my dad rats for playing the band, because he called a boys band. They had about 6 or 8 real old timers in there. Miller Bear, Dad, my grandpa, Harvey Ziegler, bunch of old fellows there. Guy Bars played the clarinet, you played the clarinet, Fatsburg on trumpet.
Yeah.
You were talking about going back to high school.
I remember when they dug out for the high school back there, and they just had a horse and a scoop, and they scooped the dirt out. And I know we kids had bikes. We'd get down to one side into the cellar and we'd go up the other side. I remember Frank Updegraff had a bicycle. He worked for Harry Offenbach, and he said that Harry got him that for Christmas. But I think it was actually back wages. And Frank went down there and he spilled. And he bent his handlebars, which he was really worried. He cried about that. But all you had to do was hold the front wheel and straighten them up. He straightened them up. But then they built the high school, and I know one time in the high school we were back there, we were playing soccer ball, and somebody kicked the ball over in Glick's field. And from there somebody followed him and kicked it the whole way down through the meadow, down through and come out of Kling's place. And we come back, Miss Schwartz says, he mentioned the names of the other two fellows and me, and said, the principal wants to see you in the office. Well, we knew what was up. We went over and he said that next time you kick that ball, he said, kick it on the school grounds. Don't kick it down through the neighbors' fields. But that's about all it amounted to. But then there was another time around Halloween.
When we moved to Manchester, we moved right across from where Goods lived, where they had sale, over in the big house there's where we moved. Then we later, when my daddy died, then my mother sold it to Miller's Bear, and then we moved in the little house. Because then we was all married, and then Mom was by herself. She lived in the little house then, yeah.
Well, Tom's talking about school. A lot of people talk about going to one-room schools. And we never had a one-room school in Manchester. The old school, which I hope somebody has a picture of back of the Lutheran church, was a three-room school under one roof. So that we just, Tom, go ahead with your school story.
So anyway, we went to school one morning after the grade school was all packed front of the doors with corn fodder and posts and anything at all. The teacher said, the principal wants to see all the boys from Manchester in the office. We went over.
And Mr. King from Manchester taught at Walgo.
And he told us, the principal told us, that was Scott Null then, he said, it doesn't look very nice the way that school was decorated with corn fodder and everything in front of the doors. But the fact of the matter was that Mount Wolf fellows did the work, and we were happy because the principal said, you had your fun last night, now you can have some more fun and take it away. But it was fun for us because we got out of class. We took it away, we did the work. And right on the east side of the school ground was the Lutheran church. And in fact, this Lutheran church was a tree there, it was a linden tree. And it had little things on it looked like cherry seeds on stems. And we called it monkey peanuts. I don't know wherever got that name.
Let's talk about some of the old homes, properties in Manchester.
Before we do that, one of the things you talk about progress, and we talk about the Ku Klux Klan. I can remember I was just a kid, but when the Ku Klux Klan burned a cross back on Winfield Glick's field, and to this day I never found out, but they said some man was running somebody else's man's wife, and so they burned the cross. But I can remember, so we still have Ku Klux Klanners today. Okay, let's talk about some of the old houses
Well,
there.
remember the old hotel, which is now torn down. Do any of you remember we had fox chases there?
Oh,
Fox
yes,
hunts on
yes.
Saturdays, an all-day affair. And of course, it was done to get a lot of fellows there with their foxhounds. My uncle Albert had 2 or 3 foxhounds.
You really hear
Down
that?
there in the corner.
They buy a fox from somebody out down in the back of their mountains, and they cage it and let him loose for so long, and release the dogs, and the dog could go running, and fellas would be running after the dog. And then right beside Julia Clemens, that little red brick building was years and years ago was a harness shop. It's still there. They connected it now to the other house where Gertie Otliff used to live. And incidentally, Gertie Otliff is the one that gave me the picture of the band. And then up where Clayton's office is now, years ago, that was called Bell's, there was a restaurant in there, remember, Mr. and Mrs. Bell, it was Bell's Restaurant. That was a restaurant, and down in the South Main Street in the hall over there in front of where Peg and Sandy's restaurant is, that used to be a boardwalk across there, and that was very deep on that side, it's floated down, but then there was a big stucco house, stone and stucco built there, Kaplingers lived there when I was a kid, and that house was set in a crooked corner of the house, came out in the middle of the sidewalk. That's been torn down too.
There at Bell's ice cream parlor, after that Shears drugstore came in.
And then right below that, it's Wood Blick's house where the picture of the band was taken, and the next house is where the two sisters lived that had the old telephone exchange. Yeah.
The telephone, you ring the handle so that somebody knew you were on, and then you ring as many rings as you wanted to get to talk to somebody. There were very few telephones, really, but they had the telephone.
Two doors below the exchange was Rudy Good. He was a barber shop, 15 cents per haircut.
And he could pull your hair sometimes, boy. He had a hand clipper, you know, he'd be way too fast.
And across with him where Dr. Gamble had his office as a doctor, and a few houses down the street was Dr. Gress.
And I remember the time that the borough put a notice in the paper, people were supposed to shovel off the snow from the sidewalk. And I remember Dr. Gamble came to the store one time and said something to him. He said, well, I'll tell you how it is. He said, the good Lord puts the snow there and he'll take it away.
Back in those days, when you had someone passed away, we didn't have funeral parlors like they have now, funeral homes. You usually had your viewing in the home, and you would have a big black wreath out at the door. You had your viewing at the home, like a drape.
And at that time, they used to toll the bell, so if you didn't know who died, you listened to the tolling of the bell, and they tolled for 1 year for every year that person was old. So if you knew if it was 7, it was a child, or if you knew it was 40, it was a middle-aged person, and so on. Maybe Claire or Tom knew something about Stout Store, who was at the corner.
So we both worked there at one time.
Okay.
Tom worked there, he used to drive that bus that went around the county with groceries, didn't he?
Yes, well, one time when Vickers had it, before Stouts had it, we used to have medicine men would come around. Sell snake oil or some kind of a remedy. It was good for anything from corns to toothache. And they usually had a fellow do some magic tricks or perform some feats of strength. I remember this one fellow had a half-inch iron bar, must have been about 20 feet long, and he put it in his mouth and reached out as far as he could, and he bent this. Well, he didn't need to put it in his mouth. He could have bent it without putting it in his mouth. But anyway, this one medicine man was parked out in front of Bricker's store, and there used to be a porch the whole way along there. So this medicine man was doing some magic tricks.
On the main street.
And Junior Bricker, that was the boy, he crawled out the upstairs window on this roof.
Toward the old high school.
And then the magician said, where did it go to? And Junior Bricker hollered out, down the hole in the table. So after Junior said, down the hole in the table, this guy looked up and saw Bricker. He put his stuff together and got his truck moved down in front of Gamble so they couldn't see him.
Getting back to hucksters.
Yeah.
They used to say Ed Brown.
Yeah.
The butcher used to weigh his thumb. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that rumor every now and then.
They say that all butcher.
Yeah, they always
They say that all butcher. But we did have, years ago, we had hucksters, we had butchers went around with a wagon, sold it.
Fish man.
And fish man came around.
Ice cream man.
The hucksters of the fresh
Ice man.
vegetables, ice man, milk man, bread man, they all came around to the door. You didn't have to go to the store almost.
Yeah.
Eddie always,
I do know we accuse different women and men.
Come on.
I'm gonna say this.
You always,
Must be the butchers or the milkman.
Right.
you know, down, when you went to El Tadfellas, you always do the 8 cents off for whenever she put something. 88, all right. 88.64, you know, I mean, 88, make it 80 cents. You always 38 cents off.
We also had a tombstone place on High Street,
Tadfellas did.
Gladfellas, that made tombstones and so on. I like the little stores on the square, but as Tom said, we've gotten away from those, and now, we never even had a shopping center in Manchester, so now we go to the store.
There's a lot of industry in Manchester, a lot of industry.
The old cigar factory on North Main Street, which is, the building is still standing, but I can remember many a time going over there and watching them roll cigars, and my grandma Murphy stripped tobacco for the cigars.
I used to take expressway to Don Rock Alley to get tobacco to take home to strip. Sometimes I'd help, but I wasn't too good at it. My dad and my aunt. And it was really cold going down Rock Alley in the winter. That wind blew up through there, I'm telling you.
Is that what you call it, expressway?
Yeah. Claire, you were gonna talk about the park.
Yeah, let's talk about my Cold Spring Park, because I grew up there as a kid. That was my place in summer vacation. I lived down there.
Mine too.
Down there after every picnic, you go around and hunt for soda bottles, you get 2 cents deposit,
And
look for
money.
money.
Yeah.
And anything else you could find. But we lived down, we'd fish for minis, and there was 2 little runs down there. And used to play ball inside the pavilion, and you could run out by old Jake Schraw.
Roller skate.
You roller skate.
So you were the guy that used to try to beat me down there to hunt money. huh?
Yeah. I lived closer than you did.
Maybe Claire, you wanna say something about the trolley cars that brought all the people
Did you
from
know
York
my
to
dad?
Cold Spring?
Yeah, they had trolley cars that come up, and matter of fact, you used to have later on, the trolley car would come in on the siding there, and they had a little wagon.
He only
And they
lived
load the ice
14
cream on this wagon and pull from the trolley car up to the refreshment stand. And the wagon was a long, tall on it. But then later on, they started holding dances on that dance floor, and they had people come from Philadelphia. A lot of colored people came up from Philadelphia and Baltimore. They come up, but I guess the train to York, they did from York out through.
Used to
Just
hold
Friday night, though.
Friday nights.
Yeah, they'd open trolley.
I want to ask you a question, Claire. You one of the guys stole and you colored people's ice cream and had a run, huh?
I was afraid to get that close to them.
Come on.
And our churches had their Sunday school picnics there, and you'd go in the morning and you'd take a wash basket full of lunch, and you'd eat lunch, and maybe you got a nickel in the afternoon to buy an ice cream cone, and then for supper, you'd eat what was left from lunch. So it was a whole day, and everybody fellowshipped and so on.
Each kid at the church got some tickets to get I think worth a nickel or something, get 2 or 3 tickets.
And they had a novelty stand there, and this fellow was a little tongue-tied. And if you go and ask too many questions, you say, don't take a walk down that full hill.
They used to have a little stand there where they had shot the 22s for shooting gallery, yeah.
I couldn't hit them ducks.
You know, that used to get me,
That's
we
what
were
they
out
were.
there cleaning chicken houses and things like that, and we could hear the band playing down the park, everybody having a good time, and we were there working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played in that pavilion many times with the band.
And they used to have cake walks,
Yeah.
give cakes away whenever you stopped designated place.
And down below that's where the first Manchester ball field was, right, is down at the park. The lower end, behind the pavilion,
Yeah.
right along the chocolate. But down there, they had some rides for kids. You had one called the Ocean Wave, and a big pole, and it would rattle. Then you had one that went around, we called it the Red Devil. It just keep going, make it sick as Samuel.
Well, that old ball diamond, I remember one time in winter, I bought a pair of skates off at Clarence Horton, and there were plank ones. Every time we stand up, they just come off. So I just rode my bike on a little ton of water back at the mill, Klein's Mill, and I was careful, I guess. I never spilled riding the bike on the ice. So we came home, we came up with Dynamite Woods, and there at the home plate, there was a low spot, and there was snow over the home plate, and the kids were going skating with their shoes over this place. So I went to ride over that with my bike in this snow. Boy, did I ever take a spill on that snow there at the home plate.
Talking about baseball, I always wanted to see a no-hit game, and I can always remember this. And we had a no-hitter up to the last inning, and the last batter was up, which was Penrose Miller, Demi Miller.
Oh, yeah.
And it was nothing to this point, and he hit a home run, and we won the game. I will never forget that.
I think that was in New Holland.
Was it? I don't know, but I do remember talking about baseball.
Hit it up to Dan Gladys.
There wasn't no fences then, you just hit it. Down at the high department, the trolley track, when it was still operation, there was a concrete bridge, it's still there. And we kids didn't have any place to go swimming. Didn't have pools like we do now. So we cut some saplings and put them in front of this bridge, and then put filled burlap bags with ground and put them in front of that. And we built that. We'd stand on the bridge and dive in there, and it got that high, it flooded the trolley track. They had to send their maintenance crew out and tear our dams out. Yeah, it flooded the trolley track.
Well, they had one up back of the ball diamond then too, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's one up higher, up the street further.
Yeah.
I played baseball there.
Yeah,
I finished.
that was during the Depression.
I finished my baseball season there. From 23 on up to 30. No, 30 I finished up above here where we built. John Michael took over. Talking about baseball, you know, right now, at Manchester, that is what they call the home base.
Now we have a new ball diamond.
The Art Colonial is in progress right now, back there at 10 o'clock it started. And that's a newcomer and Vermont. This afternoon it'll be Cumberland Valley and Woolridge. Where's Woolridge?
That's up in the mountains, up in around Potter County. That's where they get the Woolridge jackets. Yeah, where the Woolridge comes from.
That's the team who's here this afternoon.
Susan, I think we should have Stuart stay. So Susan, I guess maybe Brad's gonna take over.
Cold Springs Park. And they were good, pure cold water. The one was right alongside the trolley track, and the other was down along Manchester Street. The one on the trolley track in later years, when the water became contaminated, and the health department closed it. It's no longer there. It's been filled over with the new development of the Manchester Cold Spring Apartments. The other one over Manchester Street, it was good water, and fellows would come there on Saturdays and during the week and wash their cars because they could dip in there and get this water right out of this big concrete, I don't know what you call it, but the reservoir. And there was always 5, 6 cars there. On top of
Now it's on.
Now it's on.
Now it's on.
Now you're in gear.
There it's on.
Now it's on.
Now it's on.
Okay, Claire, do you want to tell him?
He's taking pictures of it, aren't you? Yeah, he's taking pictures.
Well, he's-
I mean, of the things on the table also. Oh, you are? Oh.
Well, let's talk about the fire company, and the old hotel.
Well, the old fire company was originally located at,
Right across.
across from the hotel, beside the Borough, Union Fraternity Hall. And that's where the Borough Council met. And, when we had the big fires was when Home Products was using the building. But before that, the high school used to hold all their graduation ceremonies and services and plays up there on the second floor. Third floor is where the union, where the lodge met. It's third floor. The lodge
Lay it down, put it down.
Yeah. And when the things as much as we could belonged to the borough, and the entire building burned. Well, I think it was a shell left, but the inside was gutted.
In this same fire hall, when Manchester had a cop, Roland Miller, got an engine motorcycle with a sidecar, and he used to park in the fire hall there in the front, If someone would go too fast, he'd buzz out after him. And later on, they had another cop, that was John Strine, lived at the corner of Rock Alley. Remember him? He had a Indian Scout.
When Main Street in Manchester at one time, years ago, was the main route, go from York to Harrisburg. They come down through York Haven, up through Pleasant Grove, up through Newburgh, and we used to sit on the porches down there with Sam Lannis lived, his son, Leonard, we called him Specky. And we'd sit on the porch and watch the buses. Greyhound buses go down through Manchester, trucks and cars, a lot of heavy traffic. Watch them go up and down the road. But that was the main road, that was the main road to Harrisburg. Then you built the Susquehanna Trail, and then later it built
Your shop is down in the alley.
Pardon?
Butcher shop.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to talk about Specky Landis's dad's occupation.
I'd like to come in there on the hall here if I may.
Okay.
The Athletic Association, we got bingo going, we used the third floor on the hall.
Second.
Second floor.
Was it the second? I
Second
thought it
floor.
was the third.
No, second.
That was the
floor.
lot.
I know, I and my wife, we used to buy groceries at the store, that's what we gave prices, for prizes. Every week we'd buy that. Saturday nights we'd go over there and have bingo. That's how we made some of our money to keep the association operating. We also held carnivals back at high school, 1947, first one. That's how we got money to start that playground off, and that equipment is still standing. That was good stuff. That's one thing I would like to see keep going, very much.
Down in the basement of the hall building, when I was real small, the Borough held Halloween parties there, and you would dress up, they would give prizes, you'd trade, they trade a certain age, would trade around, and they award prizes for, the best dressed, the funniest dressed, and that.
All that.
Yep, they used to hold it every year.
And meals.
Had meals
down there.
Yeah, they had meals, they had a kitchen down there.
Certain nights, they were open to sell some ice cream.
Yeah, logical.
I did that.
She always baked cookies. And if the kids came up too, she gave me to cookie.
Really?
My dad padded oysters for the restaurant they had in the hall.
That was a lodge.
Yeah, the lodge, that's the way they made their money.
I was going to ask if you was involved in a lot of that playing spin the bottle.
Well,
I think you was just a little too young for our group.
do I have to quote myself?
You might have been in Claire's group or more.
I think I was in Claire's group.
My group, I think you was
We used to play post office, you remember that?
Yeah, I
Claire?
love post office. That was my favorite game.
Look at Sam.
Down at Maple Street, what we call Railroad Street then, when the trolley would get down to Mount Wolf, wintertime, we used to sled on that hill. And we'd sled down to the end of the hill, which is where the trolley tracks stopped. They had a little building there for people to stay in. And then we wait for the trolley to come. Then when he'd start going up the hill, we'd hook on his cow catcher in the back, and he'd pull us the whole way up the hill to the top.
Claire, we'd be arrested today.
What did you do, coast down the hill?
We'd coast down the hill, then wait for the trolley. When the trolley goes, we'd start moving, we'd grab the cow catcher, they call it a cow catcher, and front and back end. And we'd hang on to that, and that'd pull us, and he'd go up the hill, and he'd pull us up the hill, and at the wall.
You was the girls part way down the hill and get on your back.
Oh, we had girls by on our back too, yeah.
Glenn Strickler.
He was bad, so was I.
And Strickler went with Edith at that time, and he'd ride the streetcar down there for nothing, hooked on the side of it. And the conductor called him one day, and he just had got a new suit.
I think that was one of the things, as we were growing up, we made our own recreation and stayed in the area. Now, we didn't have a car that you could jump into, and I think Tom still has an old Model T.
26, well, I took my testing out in here, Abel Turkey Farm. State Police had a junk engine all from.
Now, I have a new, now it's on.
Yeah.
Pansy Murphy was in
Keep
it,
talking
though.
then.
Were you?
Okay, Stuart, do you want to?